What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be finishing up some final assembly of the automatic transmission for the Dodge D100 project truck. Keep watching. A little over 2 years ago, I had removed the Torqueflite A904 3-speed automatic out of the D100. I took it out to do a full rebuild on it. I did a shift kit on it, and this was actually the project that got me first thinking about doing YouTube. But there was never any real rush to get the transmission back together. I mean, since then the engine has come out, it's gone to the machine shop. That should hopefully be back soon, like hopefully this weekend soon. Other projects were going on, so there was never any rush to get this thing done. But now that I should hopefully have the engine back, I figured now is the time to get started on getting this thing buttoned up. So I need to do, some final adjustments. The kickdown band adjustment. I need to adjust for line pressure. I need to adjust for throttle pressure, stuff like that. So I'm going to take you through some of the final steps of getting this transmission back together and ready to go back in the truck. So the first adjustment I need to make is to the kickdown band, which is right here. That adjustment is on the left side of the transmission, on the towards the front. Let me flip this thing over and I'll show you where it is. So here's the adjustment screw. Now this gets adjusted to 72 inch-pounds. Then once there, it gets backed off 2.5 turns, and then the lock nut gets tightened down to 30 foot-pounds. Work a whole lot better if I had the right size crowfoot, but in a pinch, a little spacer in there will work just fine, and since I'm not going super tight with it, it works out. Also, when using these crowfoots on a torque wrench, you want to make sure you're at a 90 degree to the head, because the torque wrench is designed to work in this length of an arm. If you have this in any other position, it changes the length of this arm and therefore changes the torque value. So keep your crowfoot 90 degrees to the head, you'll be just fine. There's our 72 inch-pounds. Now I back that off 2.5 turns. Just keep an eye on, pick a reference point on the adjustment screw and loosen it 2.5 turns. And a half. Now once that's tight, then you can tighten the lock nut down to 30 foot-pounds. Now that I've got the kickdown band adjusted, I'm going to adjust the low reverse band, which is right here. And to adjust that, this is the adjusting screw here. So again, that's going to get it torqued down to 72 inch-pounds. Then it'll get backed off 4 turns instead of 2.5 like the kickdown band. And then the locking nut will get torqued down to 25 foot-pounds. Now that I've got it torqued down to 72 inch-pounds, back it off 4 turns. And then again, while holding the adjusting screw in place, the locking nut will get torqued down to 25 foot-pounds. So there's 2 band adjustments I did in accordance with this manual. This is the automatic transmission service group manual for the A727, A904 transmissions. So Here it talks about doing the kickdown band adjustment, the low reverse band adjustment. Here it talks about doing checking the line pressure and throttle pressure adjustments, and those I did when I assembled the valve body, which I'll get to in a second. This manual I also used, as you can see, it's well oiled from doing the rebuild of this transmission. Great manual. If you're working on one of these two transmissions, I highly suggest you pick one of these up. Now, moving over here, here is my valve body. Now, it was together. I thought I'd take it apart and show you guys a little bit of what I did. Not a whole lot, because it just there's a lot of parts that got swapped out. But I picked up the B&M Transpac shift kit. So that I had to drill, I believe it was like 5 holes in the separator plate. According to this, let's see, yeah, it was, so I set up for street performance. So those 5 holes, A, B, C, D, and E, I drilled into the separator plate, and then I had to drill out one of the passageways right here. The kit actually comes with a little bracket that goes in there, and you just drill out that passageway. And then I believe I got rid of 1 or 2 check balls. And there's other parts that get swapped out. Some springs get swapped out and a few other parts. But that was really what went into doing the shift kit. That should firm up some shifts. It's also going to allow me to downshift pretty much whenever I want. Within reason, obviously. I don't want to blow anything up. But I'm going to go ahead and get this reassembled and then hopefully get it dropped into the transmission. Now that I've got the valve body installed, I went ahead and I installed the neutral safety and reverse light switch that mounts right here. And that actually, you can see that inside. The rocker here actually is what engages that switch. Now I've got to go ahead and install the filter. So the first thing that's got to go in is this spacer, and that's because I'm going with an aftermarket pan. So it's a little bit deeper, so the spacers to drop the oil filter lower into the pan. So you're going to put this in place, grab the filter, and get that installed. Alright, so now that I got the filter installed, I'm going to go ahead and install the pan. And I'm going to be going with this aftermarket pan by TCI. It's an aluminum pan. It's a little bit deeper than a stock pan. And that's hence the need for the spacer under the filter. Now, I'm going to be, I don't want to say temp installing, but I'm not going to be using any kind of RTV or anything on the gasket right now. Just because I have a feeling that probably once I do the engine break-in and then get driving around a little bit and actually kind of break in the new rebuild on the transmission, I'm probably going to end up replacing the filter. And also, just in case there are any issues with my rebuild, since I'd never done an automatic transmission rebuild before, I just want to not have to worry about cleaning up RTV right now, or later once the break-in is done. So I'm just going to go ahead and temp install the pan for now. Alright, so you can see that I didn't bother to torque anything down yet. And that's just because there's a bracket that has to get installed. And if I remember right, I think it goes on these two bolts. That's why these spacers are here. But I can't remember exactly. I'll figure that out probably once this is back up inside the truck. The bracket's for the kickdown cable. I'm not using the linkage. I'm going with a low-car kickdown cable. And I'll leave that linked in the description below. There's also a bracket that I think gets installed up in the front for the shifter. I went with a B&M ratchet shifter, and that's also cable driven, so that needs a bracket also. And I think that gets mounted to one of these bolts. Again, I can't recall. It's just been so long since I've taken it out that I just don't remember. So now I'm going to flip this thing over, and I think there's only one seal left for me to put in. I'll verify that once I get this flipped over, and that would be the seal for the where the selector comes up through the case. You'll see that when I flip it over. The joys of working in a small garage. So yeah, I think the only thing I've left really to do right now is, well, besides trim this gasket material, is to do, there's a seal right there. Let's see if I can get you in there. So you can see there's a seal that has to go in right here. So I just got to install that. And that's pretty much it. I've already went through and I replaced the O-ring for the Speedo cable there. That was already done. I'm going to be installing, I'm just waiting for the parts to get here, some NPT to AN fittings for the cooler lines. One that goes there and the other one goes there. So I'm waiting on those to get here. And obviously I haven't bothered with doing the torque converter yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to just go with the one that I have right now or just do a new one. Haven't decided yet. But this thing, I mean, barring some little bit of cleanup and just odds and ends, I think it's all pretty much good to go. Alright, so I think that about wraps it up for all the little final bits and pieces I need to do to my Torqueflite A904. Obviously, I still need to install, like I said, the torque converter. I still need to torque the pan bolts, and that'll be done obviously before I run this thing. And I need to install my shifter lever and my kickdown lever. And that kind of leads me to something I wanted to touch on. When I had this thing torn apart, or while I was tearing this thing apart, it was super important to be as organized as possible. There are a lot of parts that came off this thing that need to go back on in the right place. So one thing that I did was I picked up just a cheap little parts bin, I think from a Harbor Freight or something. And I just threw some painter's tape across the top, and above each compartment where I was putting hardware, I wrote down where it came from. So the front pump bolts, the pressure test plugs, coolant bungs that I had in here, because originally I had these NPT to hose bar, but I'm upgrading to AN fittings. But I also have in here my kickdown lever and my gear select lever. And they're both right here, along with the spring, the E-clip that just slid into the wrong compartment. Yeah, gloved hands don't work. But I just thought, you know, especially when I know a project is going to sit for a while and not everything's going to be put right back on, staying organized and keeping everything together in a way that works for you, in a way that works so that you can easily grab the right parts and immediately put them back in the right place. I even went as far as a label for the Speedo gear. I labeled which setting it was on the tape so that I know when putting it back on, boom, this is how it goes. So, you know, you probably have your own methods. This worked for me, and I'm definitely gonna, this is something that I've done and I will continue to do for a long time. It just makes it super simple. So again, I think that's pretty much it. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. Like I said, I didn't go into super details regarding the throttle body, the valve body rebuild, just because I was done, I said it was like 2 years ago. So I know there's stuff that you guys would have liked to see. There's stuff that I would have liked to have included, but I said a lot of that stuff was already done. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when new stuff comes out, and I'll see you on the next one.